Hey guys, and welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm Seiben, and today we'll be looking at some more Ixalan lore. As the standard for this set starts to materialize and the story deepens, there's plenty of wiggle room for our own thoughts and theories. And actually, there's something that's been bothering me lately, and it's featured in the card, Ixalan's Binding. Now, the card itself is the type of removal we've seen a lot in White for a long time now. Oblivion Ring and the more recent Cast Out come to mind. Even the flavor text on the card isn't that special, despite it being a story spotlight card. Nothing really there to give us much to work with, but the art on the card, now there's a discussion worth exploring. So, on the card itself, we see Jace kneeling on the sandy shores of Ixalan just after getting his mind kicked by Nicole. He's lost, confused, and trapped. Yes, trapped. That sigil just above his head is a seal preventing him from leaving Ixalan. This strange and powerful magic doesn't just impact Jace, however. All planeswalkers who apparently visit Ixalan are bound to the plane by this ancient force. If you take a trip to Ixalan, apparently it's gonna last you a while. Like I said, Jace isn't the only planeswalker finding this magic troublesome. There's another which we've only seen in the story, the pirate planeswalker named Captain Angrath. He and his marauders of the Brazen Coalition ravage the seas in a display of utter disregard to the well-being of the plane's people, or even themselves. They care less for riches than the other pirates and seem to only want one thing: destruction and devastation. Not like we didn't get enough of that last set. Anyway, in the flavor text for Angrath's Marauders, we get a sense to why Captain Angrath is so angry and hell-bent on Ixalan's torment. Captain Angrath cares less about treasure than mayhem. If he can't leave Ixalan, he'll burn the plane down. It's apparent that the good captain here has probably been on Ixalan a while. Realizing he's trapped with no means of escape, he's pretty content with just setting the world ablaze. It's our most solid example of a planeswalker forced to stay on Ixalan against their will. Of course, we have other confirmed planeswalkers on Ixalan such as Vraska and Hualti, with Vraska only knowing about the barrier by the cryptic message of Nicole. She was sent here by Bolas in search of the Immortal Sun artifact, but from what I can tell in the story, I don't think she's actually tried leaving yet, so maybe Bolas is lying to her, but I'm gonna say probably not. Just like any other planeswalker on Ixalan, if you come to this plane, you ain't leaving unless you find something powerful enough to break the seal, something as powerful as, let's say the Immortal Sun. But like I said, the little condition of her not being able to leave probably didn't dismay Vraska very much. She's doing this for a reason, and Bolas is basically just a means to an end. So I feel like she's pretty confident in being able to leave Ixalan, at least at some point. Then we have the new native planeswalker of Ixalan, Hualti, the dinosaur-ruling champion of the Sun Empire. It's hard to say if she understands what exactly makes a planeswalker. Think of it. If she's a native to a world that prevents planeswalkers from leaving, can you even call that person a planeswalker then? The answer is, of course, yes. Just because a person doesn't planeswalk to a newer world doesn't mean they're not a planeswalker. And of course, we know that Hualti has that pull from the multiverse to want to travel, and she can even see other worlds. She's just prevented from leaving because of the binding magic on Ixalan. Her spark has ignited, and they have the power, they just haven't used it yet. We actually see Hualti herself describe her inability to planeswalk on the card Kinjali's Sunwing. There are moments when I feel I could fly like the Sunwing. Far away I would soar, but always a golden gale pushes me back. So no, she hasn't planeswalked yet, but she feels its pull. Still, Hualti is in a unique position. A position to understand this sigil blocking their way better than most. So let's look at the binding with more context to see who could have made it and for what purpose. First, let's examine the symbol of the Sun Empire, this 3 interlocking circles. It's meant to represent, what else? The stages of the sun, or something like that. Look, they really love the sun here. It could also represent this artifact known as the Immortal Sun, which everyone seems to want to get their hands on. Now, the 3 circles have openings, but they don't align. It's like a visual representation of the barrier preventing planeswalkers from leaving Ixalan. Should the circles align, a passage could open. Yet there's another faction with a weird symbol, the Black Rose of the Legion of Dusk, the vampire conquistadors invading Ixalan in search of the Immortal Sun. The rose symbol hasn't been seen very much in clarity, but we can see that it has 3 arrow-pointed ends with a solid center. We place these symbols on top of one another and we roughly get the full design of the binding sigil itself. If these two factions fashioned their symbols after the sigil, then it's something super important to the world of Ixalan as a whole. And remember, both the Sun Empire and the Legion of Dusk had control of the Immortal Sun at one point in their history. Perhaps these symbols are what they took away from this powerful artifact. So with our best guess, we understand that the Immortal Sun is super powerful and is coveted by beings like Nicole, so we know it's the real deal. It's also been on Ixalan for centuries, with the 2 major factions fashioning symbols to reflect this relic. But what does this have to do with the binding magic on Ixalan preventing walkers from, well, walking? Could the Immortal Sun be the device creating this barrier? Possibly, but I think there's something else at work here. Maybe, just maybe, someone is looking to keep the Immortal Sun on Ixalan. I doubt Bolas would have any use of a device that keeps planeswalkers trapped on a plane. Sure, it would make his plans a lot easier to fulfill, but he's said multiple times he's already got it on lock, no matter what anyone else does. So it's probably not needed. Outside of that, it really doesn't help further his goals of obtaining his lost godlike powers, if that's all it does. So it must be something more. If it's somehow tied to granting planeswalkers the power of a god, or perhaps undoing the mending which saved the multiverse, while at the same time nerfing planeswalkers, that's something forward-thinking heroes may want to try and prevent falling into the hands of, oh say, Bolas. Who do we know that's ancient like Bolas, but utterly against his plans? Someone smart enough to think moves ahead of his enemies and impede them in every possible way. Who's been a real thorn in Bolas' side, pretty much since the very beginning. Come on, you guys know this, it's Ugin the Spirit Dragon. And before you say I'm crazy, hear me out. Ugin is no stranger to binding magic. Remember, he's the one who orchestrated the Eldrazi prison on Zendikar, using a sigil fairly similar to the one we see here on Ixalan. Ugin's also ancient, far old enough to have smuggled the Immortal Sun on Ixalan, cast the binding spell, and create this legend that we see reflected in the factions on the plane itself. He's also a major enemy of Bolas. If Bolas wants this thing, then it's definitely something Ugin is thinking about safeguarding. Now obviously Ugin's not in Ixalan, we already have 3 other planeswalkers here, but he may make an appearance in the next set of the block. I mean, come on, the next set is Rivals of Ixalan. What better rivalry is Ugin versus Nicole? Anyway guys, let me know what you think about the possible future where Ixalan may be in the comment section below. And I'd also like to note that I didn't come up with this theory on my own. You guys really think I'm that smart, really? No, I used the community at large as a resource. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of those great creators on Reddit, Tumblr, Twitter. You know, thanks for making the great content, guys. With that, thank you all for watching. Like, share, sub if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time here at the Aether Hub.